I can see how wise you are when you faced so much learnerships about surrender. In your opinion, how can one learn to surrender without losing their center? Because it's not easy, right? How did you get to do this?
None of it's real. The sense of you have no control over anything. I think that, one of the things that you learn, as a girl, this kind of comes back to the marriage conversation we were talking about earlier. When you're a young girl, you have this thought, I'm going to grow up and this is how my life is going to look. And maybe you'll have a partner. Maybe nothing is steady. Everything is always changing. Whatever control you have is completely limited. And so there is what's the control for? Why are you having a headache about it? So, and I can see this happening with others, friends around me who are very, very, very impatient with their lives and, I want to be here. And I think what I know now is that step by step, we get to where we need to go. It's just putting one foot in step of the other and being very present in the day to day and showing up as your best self for that day, not as perfect because we are perfectly imperfect human beings. And when you are in the flow of life, when you really let go, when you really surrender, oh my gosh, the gifts and the blessings that come your way, they're innumerable.
And this podcast is dedicated to women 45 plus, but you are 43 and have such a wonderful wisdom. What do you think women of your generation can learn from us over 50? And what can the 50s generation learn from women in your age group?
They'll let you know, everything will be okay. I think you also learn that stepping in your power and being your true, authentic self is super important. You make such bold decisions and you take life by the reins. You're like, no, I am going to live this way and I'm going to be fully embodied and fully myself. And that is so empowering to see. And you do it while looking great and fabulous and just being full of life and joy.
Hello, welcome to episode 32 of Caos à parte, or A Particular Chaos, the Brazilian videocast that brings you stories of mature women who turn chaos into purpose. I'm Noemia Colonna, a 51-year-old journalist, a restless woman, curious by nature and passionate about life. I love listening to and telling stories of women around the world, women who find strength, meaning, and beauty amid the chaos of their experiences. I live between Berlin and Rio de Janeiro, two places that are so different and at the same time so complementary. It is from this privileged meeting point of cultures and experiences that I bring inspiring stories told through the microphone of my own chaos, our part. And the purpose? To use these stories as a way to inspire other women, especially those over 45, to embrace the moments they are living, to realize that it is possible to give new meaning to the experiences accumulated with maturity and transform them into a life purpose. When my son was little, I enrolled him in a Waldorf school, which is based on the principles of anthroposophy developed by the Austrian philosopher and educator Rudolf Steiner. According to this school, life is organized into 7-year cycles, a period consisting of 7 years in which human beings grow and develop mentally and spiritually. It is a very interesting philosophy that makes a lot of sense. From 0 to 7 years old, children experience the first 7-year period. From 7 to 14, the second. From 14 to 21, the third, and so on. Today, my son is no longer in a Waldorf school, but he is at the end of the third 7-year period, and I am at the beginning of the 8th 7-year period of life. The time between 49 and 56 years of age, which, according to anthroposophy, is like a fold in the soul. A time when we begin to look at everything we have experienced, not with the rush to conquer, but with a deep desire to understand. There were decades of movement, working, trying, caring, growing, but now the movement is different. It is from the inside out. That is when the soul begins to whisper, now it is enough to just be. Yes, that is what's happening. In this new time, the rhythm is more serene, but also more true. I don't need to run. I need to feel. I need to listen to what remains and let go of what has already fulfilled its role. And it was by observing and listening to women from all over the world here at the podcast Caos à Parte and in life outside that I began to understand the power of this cycle. Women who, like me, are learning to transform the accumulated chaos of life into living wisdom. One of them is Kya Blackstone, a 43-year-old New Yorker who traded Wall Street for Berlin and became the founder of Solo, a wellness company that values personal pleasure and self-care as a sacred practice. In addition, her entrepreneurial spirit led her to create Boom, where Kya celebrates the coffee traditions of Eritrea and the United States, along with foods from the African continent and the diaspora, honoring cultural heritage as a treasure. She's also the Chief Operating Officer of Loretta Health and is developing precision health technology that serves underserved communities, especially LGBTQIA+ populations, integrating the social, environmental, and personal realities that shape true health equity. Since we are talking about 7-year cycles, Kya is in her 70th, the period from 42 to 49 years of age, which marks a change of direction. The soul begins to question the course of life in a more profound way. It is the beginning of the transition between who I show myself to be and who I really am. So, Kya's entire background makes perfect sense, doesn't it? My dear, darling Kya, welcome to Caos à Parte.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that was beautiful. That was a TED Talk. That was amazing. I'm like, oh my God, it's so good.
But it's you. It's totally you. So, my dear, you spent nearly a decade on the fast-paced streets of Wall Street.
I did, yeah.
What did success mean to you back then? And how did that image start to shift when you decided to build a different kind of life here in Berlin?
Oh, that's such a good question. First, thank you so much for having me. I always sit at your feet, Noemia. You're so knowledgeable, you're so wise, you're full of wisdom and such a wonderful person. So I'm really, really happy to be here. That's such an interesting concept, the 7 years. And I can totally see how it relates to my life. So I graduated, before Wall Street, I went to law school and I graduated during the financial crisis. So in 2009, there were no jobs, there was nothing. And really as a result of the financial crisis, there were all of these laws being enacted to protect consumers, to make sure that when you're trading, you have enough capital and all of this. And so they needed people with legal backgrounds to help create systems around these new laws, to help paper agreements. It just was like a whole initiative within investment banking. And I started my career off at Goldman Sachs, working in legal operations initially, which is kind of like a direct connection to a little bit what I'm doing now. And I think at first I just wanted to, you want to make a living, start your life, invest in home ownership, invest in stocks. And I'm really although I went to law school I got a scholarship from the NAACP because I wanted to do something with litigation, human rights law, civil rights law, give voice to the voiceless. So I've always been very community driven, heart driven, and people focused, but I just loved business and I loved money. So every single corporate job that I had, in corporations and trust and estates and all these classes, I was just like, oh my gosh, I was really interested in them. So it made perfect sense for me, not only because there were all these initiatives around, how to translate regulations into operational practice, within investment banks. So they needed people with legal backgrounds, but also I just had an interest in it, just in finance in general. I think I don't know. When you talk about 7-year cycle, during that 7-year cycle, it was really, really difficult for me. I was always a little bit different than other people. I was, surrounded by people who were getting married and they were moving up the career ladder. And it wasn't like I wasn't doing well at work, but I just was not it wasn't connecting with me at all. Like, there were things where I didn't want to play the politics. I didn't want to, and I could be very good at things like that, but it just did not interest me. I was always interested in so much and wanting to understand the whys of things, and a very curious person. And I love solving problems. And so I think I spent 10 years just building, thinking about investing. I think success looked like being able to have had a 2-bedroom apartment and Fort Greene, Brooklyn. It was a really lovely, cushy life. I was involved in community. I think it was just living. And I was not someone who's like success equals money. It never did. But when you're in the United States, when you live in New York, it is always a factor, So I never wanted to lean on my parents. I never wanted to be poor in that way. So I think my values were a little bit misaligned. Because money was such a factor in the decisions that I was making.
But you have changed a lot since I met you 4 years ago. You were 39 years old. And then I remember you very concerned about getting married. If you were getting older to have children. And today I see you such a self-confident woman. You don't talk more about relationships or having children, or you're just being.
Yeah.
Still, I think your cycle is working for you.
It's true. It's true. And it's interesting about that. Like, I never really wanted to have children, but towards my late 30s, I think everyone has this, when you are starting to look at like, okay, well, I'm approaching perimenopause in my 40s, menopause. Like, what does it mean to choose not to mother in the traditional sense of the word? And I went actually through a grieving process around this, like, what I will never be someone's mother. And even if that was an identity that I necessarily wanted, I had to question it. And then marriage also, like looking for partnership and, what is partnership means, where it's like, then I wanted partnership and now I want connection. So it's completely realigned, for me. And I explain this to people who are younger than me, like, what do you really, really, really want? I think a lot of us take on, and this is part of that 7-year cycle, in the 7-year cycle I'm in now, where you start shedding outside expectation of your life. I'm my mother's only child. She's a wonderful, strong woman, but she always wanted me to have kids, and she always wanted me to be married or settle down. And I just was like, no, I don't think this is for me.
But I really loved when you said that, I'm not a mother of a child, but I'm a mother in another way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you mean? It's beautiful. I know what you mean, but I want to hear from you. Being a mother of other things.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that many ways that we mother throughout our lifetimes, and not necessarily in a traditional sense, we mother in our community by taking care of community members, community spaces. Even when I was living in New York, I was the farmer coordinator for a CSA, which is community supported agriculture. So that's when a group of people buy shares in the farm in order so that we can have accessible produce that is not expensive. All fresh, and we would live seasonally. So that's a way to mother. I think now, in terms of the businesses that I'm creating and the problems that I want to solve, I'm nurturing these ecosystems and environments, So in that way, that's a form of mothering. I think I hold space a lot for my friends, my family. And so and that is a sort of mothering as well. I don't think we ever stop needing a maternal influence, and maternal meaning someone who loves you unconditionally, someone who is interested in your growth, someone who wants to create space for you to thrive. And I think that there, in every single aspect of my life, that is reflected now. So although I'm not a mom in like a mom sense, in the traditional sense of mom, I am mothering, and it is extremely fulfilling. Very, very fulfilling.
And what a beautiful mother have you been. And I'm sure your mom is quite proud of you, for sure.
I hope so.
We are. Kaya's mom, her friends are super proud of her. She's more than a mother. She's an amazing friend.
Thank you. I think she would still want grandkids, but I appreciate that. Yeah.
Kaya, you have said that grief was your greatest teacher. What kind of grief experience you had that teach you about surrender and about what truly matters in life for you?
Oh man, Noemi, asking such good questions.
Oh my dear, because you have such a wonderful story. That's why I'm asking you.
Thank you. In 2017, after a year-plus battle with cancer, my partner at the time passed from complications due to colon cancer. Oh. We were in our early 30s. He was 33 when he died. He was 31, almost 32 when he was originally diagnosed. So it was something that came out of the blue. He had always had stomach pains and things like that. But when you're young, doctors really ignore all the signals. And so he double over in pain one day, went into the hospital, and they said, oh, you have only 6 months to live. You have stage 4 colon cancer. And thankfully, we were able to transfer him to Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City. I shout them out all the time. They were excellent, wonderful cancer hospital, one of the best cancer hospitals in the world. And he was able to see a colon cancer specialist. And so we were able to, his life was extended for a year more. But I was his main caregiver, the person with him all the time, helping change his chemo. So on chemo weekends, we were together. We would go out. We would spend time with each other, clearly. I would change his port. When he was sick, I was there. And at that period of time, I had been in transition. So I had just left. This was before, right after I had left Goldman Sachs, and I had like time to spend with him, which was really, really amazing, and be there for him. And it wasn't only me. Like whenever you have someone who is a terminal illness, it's a whole community of people who stood by him. And he was amazing filmmaker and screenwriter. And actually, Columbia School of Film has a scholarship in his honor. His classmates got together and created a $250,000 endowment for him. But anyway, when he passed, this was someone who was, was a life partner for me. Someone who I thought that, we would be together for a long time, a brilliant, brilliant human being. And, it was the first time once he died that I encountered grief that was so intense. I had family before who had passed, like both my grandparents were in hospice. And so I knew the process of dying. I had witnessed death before, but this was the first time that I had experienced it with someone who was not only my peer, but also my partner in life. Two things I know from this, like being loved by someone in this space. I think it was very healing for me. A lot of things were healed. One of the last things that he said to me was, I love you more than you will ever know. And I believe that's true. I have no capacity of understanding the level of love that you have for a person who is with you during such a hard period of time. And also, grief forces you to face yourself. It burns everything down. There's no room for pretension. There's no room to hold any other ideals about your life that are not your own. And it was good soil for me to have to grow who I am now from, it was a very, very hard time in my life. And
I can imagine in such a young age.
It was so young. Yeah. The year he passed, I turned 35. So it was, so super, super, super young, but definitely, I truly believe that we're guides in life, there's nothing that we go through that is just for us. Even the worst things that happen to us, there is someone else who we hold their hands as they go through the same process. Since he passed, I've had multiple friends who've had partners who've passed from cancer, which is kind of crazy because I am so young. And then our friends whose partners who've had cancer, and I've been able to be so present with them through this process, through the death of their partners, and create space or hold space for them after. I think that this has been, I can say this now because it's almost 8 years later, that there was such a gift in the grief. There's so many gifts that come from grief. And would I like him to be here now? Of course, I would love for him to still be alive, but he gave me a very big gift in loving me, but also a gift in I think through his passing, I wouldn't be here without him for sure.
I'm sure he gave you a gift, and you are giving back to us, with your strength, your resilience. As you know, I recently lost my mom, and not only her, but I also lost my father many years ago, and one or two nephews, some beloved ones, and my youngest sister at the age of 37 years to cancer as well. And all those griefs, all those loss always touch me something and touch me to, be more centered and having a better life for them,
Sure.
As life gave me the gift to be alive and healthy. Why am I going to spend my life in a terrible way when I can live better for myself and for them?
Absolutely.
So I also agree that grief, it's a kind of a dance between life and death, right?
Yeah.
When we lose someone, this person who is living is giving us a different way of living.
It's true. It's true. But also, I think because grief is so overwhelming, there's a sense of surrender that must happen when you are going through it. You can't go around it. You must go through it. It is a passing through. And part of that is a release that needs to happen, a surrender that needs to happen. I know at some point, at the end of his life, when the chemo stopped working and the maintenance chemo stopped working and the body deteriorates so fast, you go from being fairly healthy to emaciated. And it looked like he was 9 months pregnant, and you could really see so many things that were changing, like physical changes that were happening to him. It was not me. I really felt like I was a vessel for love, like something was flowing through me that gave me the energy, the patience, the kindness, just this sense of just like literally a surrender in the process of caregiving, but it continued like through the grief. And that completely connects to my life now, because my day to day, my prayer always when I wake up in the morning is a sense of surrender to the flow of things. And ever since that has happened, life has risen to meet me in such a real way, things have just fallen into place. So there's so many, there's innumerable life lessons from that. And I'm so sorry about your mom, your dad, your sister, everyone. It's so heartbreaking.
No, they are resting, and they are taking care of me and all my siblings here. I can see, I have great memories, and they changed my life when they left. So then you describe surrender not as a defeat, but as a form of wisdom. I can see how wise you are when you face it so much learnerships about surrender. How, in your opinion, how can one learn to surrender without losing their center? Because it's not easy, right?
Yes,
especially us women who have been taught to stay in control of everything, to be strong, to be a war. How can we do this? How did you get to do this?
I think because it's all not real. None of it's real. The sense of you have no control over anything. You have zero control. I think that, one of the things that you learn, as a girl, this kind of comes back to the marriage conversation we were talking about earlier. When you're a young girl, you have this thought that I'm going to grow up and this is how my life is going to look. And, maybe you'll have a partner, nothing is steady. Everything is always changing. Whatever control you have is completely limited. And so this kind of works in tandem with my faith, right? Is that it's a farce. It's not real. So understanding that. And I think cancer is the thing that lets that be very clear and plain, because I could not control what happened to him. I could not control, what the outcome was going to be. We only had to know that had faith that, okay, well, this is where we are now. Maybe something will change, and you had to take it step by step, piece by piece. And so there is what's the control for? Why are you having a headache about it? So I can see this happening with others, friends around me who are very, very, very impatient with their lives and, I want to be here. And I think what I know now is that step by step, we get to where we need to go. It's just putting one foot in step of the other and being very present in the day to day and showing up as your best self for that day, not as perfect, because we are perfectly imperfect human beings. And when you are in the flow of life, when you really let go, when you really surrender, oh my gosh, the gifts and the blessings that come your way, I mean, they're innumerable. It's like, let go.
Yeah, let go. And then we'll feel that peace, because getting concerned won't fix anything, right?
It won't. No. No, it won't. It just gives you stress.
Yeah. And who is the wise here?
But it doesn't mean that this hasn't been this is a practice, Noemia. Like, I explain this to people. This isn't like a revelation that comes and you switch and you change your life. That is not. This is a daily practice of surrender that I have, a daily practice of being present. Moving here, this was a big step on faith for me to even move here. I had no idea how I was going to get to Berlin. No idea. I came in 2017, 6 months after Kashif was his name. After Kashif passed, I didn't realize I needed peace. I had been living in New York for a very long time at that point. And one of my closest friends, she was here. She said, why don't you just come for a week? You need to get some space. You need to get away from the US. Middle of February, you know how gray it is. I loved it. It was so quiet. And it was the quiet that I needed. And I knew I was supposed to live here, supposed to be here. So I went back and I told everyone I'm moving to Berlin. They were like, how are you moving? I have no idea how I'm moving to Berlin. And for 2 years I strategized, and I would picture myself walking on the streets of Berlin, like walking, and just kind of made it be very present. Like, this is real. This is going to happen. And what ended up happening was I left my apartment in New York, my beautiful 2-bedroom apartment. I left my 2-bedroom apartment. I moved in with my aunt and my uncle. I still did not know how I was going to come to Berlin, but I knew I was supposed to be here. And I lived there for 8 months. I saved. They're amazing. They allowed me to save majority of my income so I can prepare for the move. I still did not know how I was going to move here. In May, I realized I was doing some research, and I figured out if I start my own company, I can get a visa through my company. I contacted an immigration attorney that was through a friend of mine. She confirmed it. I moved in August. It was like that. I had no clue how I was going to be here.
Just like that.
Just like that. And what's even crazier is I had I believe in visualization. So I had a picture of a street in Berlin on my phone. The house that I currently live in right now, my friend used to live in this house. She moved out of the apartment with her boyfriend. One day I met her house and she says to me, why do you have a picture of my street on your phone?
No way.
Not kidding. The picture of my phone of her street that I looked at, my vision picture was the street she moved to. And it's from the house that I'm currently living in now. Everything aligns.
And in what way did Berlin offer you that sense of quiet, freedom, space, especially as an African-American woman in Europe?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was great. I never met so many Black women who were so free. Yes. I know everyone kind of like, there's so many women who are doing their thing, like who are just, whatever they're living their lives are, like they are just living it. They're being very present. I've never met so many women who were so open about their sexuality, about their interests, it was really, really amazing to be a part of this community. And I think Berlin, because because the cost of living here is not as high as a place like New York, because it invites people who are creatives, who are very curious people. This isn't like, Rome or Paris or, even Amsterdam, right? It's not a sexy capital, Berlin is. So people who find their way here, I think, are curious people naturally. So I've definitely found my tribe in that. Yeah.
Not only you. I'm Brazilian. In Brazil, we are 54% Black population.
Amazing.
We have, but I got to find my crew here in Berlin.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. We are almost 200 Black girls in this city. only in our group, because there are other groups of Black women, right? And we just made our community. We are totally connected. We are women from different ages, and we help each other. This community, this sense of community, especially among Black women, is also responsible for helping us to navigate in life. I mean, how much is important for you to have female friendship, especially among Black women?
Oh my gosh, so important. I wouldn't live here if I couldn't have that. I literally would not live here if I could not. I don't think I would be able to thrive in the way that I'm thriving now without community. But especially community amongst Black women. I think we all have a real sisterhood. When we went to, we went to Puglia a couple of years ago. We had such a wonderful time. 10 Black women, 14 languages spoken amongst all of us, like from all over the diaspora. And it was so connected. And during that time, I was having such a hard time. I had started my company and, I was bootstrapping my company. So we have sales, but also my savings is going down because the money has to come from somewhere. So I was in my own set of stress, and I didn't even know whether I wanted to go or not. And I'm so glad I did. It was so enriching. We poured into each other, supported one another, held each other when we cried. It was beautiful. It's beautiful.
No, for us, Berlin is Black. We have our Black Berlin.
Yes, it is. Berlin is Black. I know. It's wonderful. It's so cool.
Today, you lead 3 fascinating projects, solo, and the solo is my favorite one, solo. Then I want you to explain what solo is, but I will let you know, my friends out there, every woman needs a solo. All right?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then you created Boon. How can I pronounce?
Yeah, Boon. So we're launching Boon. So Boon, It's Boon or Buna. It's the coffee ceremony in Eritrea. I can go through all of them. I'll let you finish though.
Yes, please. And Loretta Health. So I'd like to know what connects them all and what is the golden thread that ties your work and your purpose together with these 3 projects.
Oh my God. You know what's funny? I think I am meant to do this work. I remember someone saying that when you love what you do, it's not work. And it's true. I love building things. I love growing things. And I think that in solving problems as well. But the thread and connection is every single one of them are heart focused, people centered, and in facilitating a form of connection. So with Solo is, we're an intimate wellness brand. We created we launched our flagship product several years ago, which is a CBD infused intimacy oil that you use that was made for self-pleasure for people with vulvas and women. But also it can be used in partner play. And so that's all about connecting, self-pleasure is very good for you. And so we wanted to promote it as a wellness brand.
It connects us with ourselves, of course.
It connects us with ourselves, with our pleasure. It's attributed to, so many health benefits. It's just like innumerable. The benefits better sleep, higher immune system. It can go on and on and on. So that was the first project, that I started. That's the project I started when I first moved to Berlin. It was my first company. Boon, is also about community and connection. Our tagline is Berlin is our coffee shop. We are now getting our licensing and everything, but we're putting sky blue coffee trailers throughout Berlin. That is our goal. And that's all about connection. Everyone connects over some really, really good coffee. My co-founder is someone I met because of a wine event. So funny. We did an Italian cooking class on Diefenbachstrasse. This is in Kreuzberg. And it was right next to the restaurant, which my co-founder managed. And so he saw, because he's Eritrean, he sees all these Black women. He's like, hey, what's going on over there? And, we became friends. And a couple of years later, I was like, I think we need to start this. And because Eritrea, coffee is so part of the culture. It's like the birthplace of coffee is this part of the Horn of Africa. like we were like, oh yeah, let's do this. So we're so excited to bring really amazing, East African coffee, and also related foods and things like that to Berlin. And then finally, Loretta Health, with the COO role, also same thing, connecting with self. I mean, we're working on technology which can actually accurately determine whether someone is at like a high diabetes risk. That's number one. We're working on cardiovascular now. And unlike other health tech software, we are looking at equity factors, meaning we're looking at where you are coming from. We're asking you questions about the type of food you eat. We're considering other factors like whether you are which communities that you are a part of, if you, the areas that you are like where you live, housing, all these types of factors. So you present a full picture of the whole person, to your medical provider, but also we have more than nudges, but nudges to help you, bring down your risk score, if you are living on a healthy life. We do it with an alignment, cultural alignment. Some things are, I'll give you an example. So, one of our use cases is you have someone who is of Caribbean descent. They're of Afro-Caribbean descent. And there is a higher rate of, prostate cancer. So you need to be tested earlier. In Germany, you have to be tested later. When you go see your German doctor, the German doctor might be like, oh no, you're too young to test for prostate cancer. They aren't recognizing that you're a part of a specific population. You eat a specific type of food. This could affect your health. And so what our application and our API platform is hoping to do is to shed light on these unseen factors, which are determinative of health. So yes, I think all of them are people-centered, community-centered, about connection. So it's a completely different way of being in the world and bringing things to the world. When I was working on Wall Street, that's its own thing. Totally, I think a little bit different,
Yeah, and I would include Kaya's motherhood feeling as well. It's part of this, this list. But what you said, just opening a parenthesis to explain to my audience about the wine meetings and how did you find your co-founder. It is because we are part of a group of Black girls who appreciate wine. Yeah. Also, alcohol-free wine.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Sometimes you don't drink. We're there for the vibes. Yeah.
So that's amazing. And I'd like to make another point when you talk about doctors here, not going deeper, in the problem, taking into consideration a group of people that comes from different backgrounds. And it's so, so important to have diversity in this field of creating things. And when I see you and your co-founders and, developing such an app, and you see it is a kind of a life-saving.
Yeah, it's true.
So when we develop such a thing, we just help to save the world. We need diversity.
We do need diversity. It's super important. And actually, I founded my own business. I'm a Black woman. So that's solo. And then you have the business, both businesses. Loretta Health, the CEO and founder, is a Black male. He's originally from Jamaica by way of Canada, who's here. And my co-founder for my other business. So these are all Black owned businesses. And we do bring a very specific perspective, which is invaluable across the board, not only to us, but to others, Yeah.
And then we have also older women over 50 and 60 and so on. And this podcast is dedicated to women 45 but you are 43 and have such a wonderful wisdom. What do you think women of your generation can learn from us over 50? And what can the 50s generation learn from women in your age group?
Oh my gosh. I think that what we can learn from you and what I love about our conversations, when we speak, because I think intergenerational friendships it's a gift both ways, right? Learn that everything will be okay. I think that you have a lot of concern, especially in your 30s, about like what's going to happen. There's so many question marks in life. And time is moving so fast. And then you realize, no, like to speak to someone who has already been through all of this, right? Lived through their 40s and their 30s. You learn, they'll let you know, like you live, like everything will be okay. I think you also learn that stepping in your power and being your true, authentic self is super important. Like you make such bold decisions and you take life by the reins. You're like, no, I am going to live this way and I'm going to be fully embodied and fully myself. And that is so empowering to see. And you do it while looking great and fabulous and just being full of life and joy. And it's a model, you know, for us. And I think what you can learn from us is, what can you learn from us? There's always, I think, over 50, I think you can learn that don't get old, you know, like still be young. I think it's good. Sometimes I have such different friends who are in my early 30s they remind me, they're like, you weren't that old. You can still go out. You can still party. You can still be present. You can still, you know, so it brings a kind of like a certain level of like life that can, you know, if you're hanging around people of the same age group, you know, everyone's talking about a this and a that. And, you know, maybe I'm getting old, I'm aging, complaining. But when you have people who are younger around you, they bring the life. So I think that's super important. They let you know that you don't have to age in this very typical way. You can still be out there and doing things and hanging out, having a good time. Yeah.
And we can connect and exchange ideas. I can learn from you.
Yeah.
You can learn from me.
Yeah.
Because life is dynamic, right? I know things that you don't know due to experiences, but I don't know things that you know because I'm not there in the places where you are, you know. So it's super important. See our group, Black Girls Who Loves Wine groups. You know, we come from 20 to 50s years old, you know?
It's true. Yeah. And it is amazing. It's so much fun. It really, really, really is. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. So, my darling, if you could summarize your life philosophy in one message for the public, the Brazilian public of my podcast, Caos da Parte, what would you tell women who are learning to flow with their own stories? Think about Brazil, first of all. There are a lot of Brazilian women listening to you.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I think the first one is to really work on the relationship with yourself. You know, like loving yourself is super important. That's like, I think that from that, having that conversation that you will have with yourself is the most important conversation you will have. I think it helps build that trust muscle, you know? And I also think that trust the flow of life. Like if you look back on your life, you can always see how things just work out in the way that they are supposed to. And that does not mean that you sit down and you do nothing. I think it's important to be very focused, intentional about the action that you take, to really sit down and think about, how do you want to live your life? How do I want to be in the world? Like, these are really good questions to ask. Work towards that and then surrender the rest. And I know this for a fact, that everything will work out in the way that it's supposed to work out. And my life has proven that again and again and again. And even bad things that happen, there's a reason for them. There's a purpose in that. Like, you can extrapolate so much wisdom from that. Yeah.
So let's learn from the wisdom of a woman at the age of 43 years old.
Yes.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Kya Blackstone. And what a name.
Oh, thank you.
Kya Blackstone. I love it.
Thank you so much, Noemia, for your time. I appreciate you. For all of you've done, all the advice, the time you take with all of us to just sit and talk and listen. And you are such a beautiful human. We love you so much. Like, I love you.
Este foi o episódio número 33 de Caos à Parte, o videocast brasileiro que traz histórias de mulheres maduras que transformam o caos em propósito. Hoje eu conversei com a norte-americana de Nova York, Kya Blackstone, 43 anos, microempresária e uma mulher macro. Falamos sobre a arte de se entregar ao universo e o prazer de viver em alinhamento consigo mesma na maturidade. Neste podcast, eu falo com e para mulheres maduras, inquietas, questionadoras e criativas que fazem de suas histórias sempre um caos à parte. Se você quer ficar por dentro das novidades, segue o canal, aciona o sininho para receber os novos episódios no seu feed. Aproveita, dá um like neste vídeo e compartilha com aquela pessoa que precisa de um toque de inspiração para transformar a sua maturidade em liberdade. Se você está ouvindo este episódio fora do YouTube, em sua plataforma de podcast favorita, segue a gente também, dá 5 estrelas, comenta e vamos ficar juntinhas nessa conversa de caos e propósito em nossa maturidade. Assim, a gente expande a nossa voz e a ousadia de mulheres mais velhas pelo mundo. Até o próximo!